When a horrible car accident ends his career, brilliant neurosurgeon Stephen Strange goes on a quest to find healing, and instead finds the true nature of the universe. Psst! The true nature of the universe is magic. Do not tell anyone. All right, we just saw Doctor Strange, Marvel's latest entry, and their magical debut. Paul.
Yes, David.
We just watched the movie together.
We did.
I'm gonna ask you to get some of your thoughts here.
Okay.
What did you think of the protagonist? What did you think of Stephen Strange, the character, and Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of him?
Obviously, the character, well known to comic fans and well known to me. This was a perfect portrayal. To me, it's exactly what I was wanting and expecting. So that was both good and bad. It was exactly what I wanted, but nor did I feel like they gave me anything extra that I wasn't expecting. So the good and bad that way. On Benedict's performance, though, I left not really remembering that he had done an American accent. I know a lot of people making a hubbub that he's British and doing an American accent. I didn't find it either good or bad, which I thought was great. So I didn't ever notice.
It's like, what's his name who played House, right? Like,
exactly.
I didn't even realize he was not British until I saw a talk show interview with him on like the second season of the show. And it's like, oh, there you go. So I guess that's a sign of a good, fake accent, right?
But what did you think?
I thought it was really good. That's pretty much exactly what I thought. Yes, it was pretty much by the numbers Doctor Strange and his origin story, but it's not really familiar to a lot of people, so I don't think they need to throw any kind of crazy twists in there. And I mean, that's not really what you'd go into a superhero movie or Marvel movie expecting, or probably shouldn't be. Like you're not going to get some weird different Iron Man. You're going to get Iron Man. I thought his portrayal was great.
I did notice they didn't make us hate him like in the comics.
Yeah.
They always made the doctor part of him just loathsome.
Right.
He was a little bit redeemable even before the accident. Which was nice.
And I think part of that, he gets pretty hateable when he's kind of yelling at his, Christine Palmer and going. But I think part of that was they really rushed through that first part, right? Like,
yes.
They were like, we're not here to see this guy's life before he's magic. We're here to see it after. So boom, boom, boom. And so I think that, that was part of that we did sacrifice some emotional connection.
But it was believable at least that he had some human connections.
Absolutely.
So that was nice. That was a good.
And I also like because anytime you get some of the portrayals in the comics, he's just like completely total jerk, and it's like, well, nobody's that much of a jerk, especially, if you're a doctor, you're doing good. You are helping people. You've probably got some kind of...
Sure. But looking ahead, they did give him enough ego that it's going to be fun when eventually he and Tony Stark are on screen together.
Yes.
That's going to happen at some point, and that'll be great.
I'm a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Yeah, no offense, but, he's no doctor.
So on flip side,
yes.
What did you think of the main antagonist, the villain of the movie, Caecilius?
I was just pausing to see who you were going to say the antagonist of the film was. Caecilius, Mads Mikkelsen, love him. If that's his name,
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah. He's great. He's getting in everything. He's getting into the Star Wars and in the James Bonds and now in the Marvel movies. I felt his acting talents were quite wasted. I think we knew going in that this was going to be a paper-thin villain, but it was sub-paper.
Right. He was
tissue
pretty,
paper.
We didn't really. I mean, we got a chance to get a little bit into his motivations, but they were pretty one-dimensional, and you get the sense of a backstory and stuff there, but nothing that's ever explored. Now there is a comic book. There's I believe a 3 or 4 issue comic book that's basically all about Caecilius prior to the start of this movie.
Fine, but none of that's on screen.
No.
And Mad's talent, like he is so talented and that was wasted. But the interesting thing for me, the flip side for the Ancient One, I thought the character was more interesting than Tilda Swinton's performance. She didn't really tilde it up. Well, I guess we'll get to it, but
right, yeah, we will get to it. So now I will say from this point on, spoiler warning, we are going to start.
Hold on, before we get to that,
Okay.
I want to introduce a quick new segment
Okay.
called Who's That Guy? Remember that doctor that Stephen Strange didn't get along with, that other surgeon?
Oh, I know that guy from somewhere. Who's that guy?
He is Arnold from Boardwalk Empire or Andy Hertzfeld in the Steve Jobs movie.
I knew that guy from somewhere.
Yeah. And remember that other guy that got healed, his spine worked?
Yeah. I know that guy from somewhere else. Who is that guy?
He's the guy from Law & Order.
Oh, yeah, the cop. Yes. Okay. Nope. Now I know who that guy is. So as I was saying, we're going to be getting into a little bit of spoiler material here. We're probably going to bring up some specific details from the movie. So if that's the kind of thing you don't want to know anything about what happens, we're going to try to be gentle, but we can't be blamed for any trauma to your
Minor
ears.
spoilers. Minor spoilers.
We spoke about a little bit of getting into some of the Ancient One and Caecilius and some of this. What did you think of the changes from the comic book?
The Ancient One, they actually made her more interesting in the movie than I ever found her to be or him in the comics. But
Yes.
But
Most definitely.
they found a way to have her. I think everyone needs to know, that eventually Stephen Strange needs to overtake her, so she does need to get out of the way of the story. And I think they found a way to do that wasn't just serving the narrative; it was actually helping with the lore and the plot. So I really like that twist.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I
You're more familiar with the comic side than I am. So.
And I really do honestly try not to get nitpicky about this stuff. I more enjoy talking about the things I enjoy in a movie than not. And I did enjoy this movie. I don't really understand why they put Caecilius in the role he is. Like, he basically plays the part of Baron Mordo from the comics. Former student of the Master who just goes evil and is making deals with, super powerful entities from outside our universe. But Mordo does that all the time.
Right.
So, I don't know why they didn't just be like, Mordo's the guy and Caecilius is Chiwetel Ejiofor's character and will become a...
I think that it's for sequel purposes.
Yeah.
I think it's like we don't want to burn Loki. If you think about Thor-wise, they won't...
But, I mean, it's just a name. You know what I mean? Like, I get they want to set Mordo up to be the ongoing main foil to Strange, I assume. And I just sort of like, if you haven't watched our video, Who is Caecilius, you should do it because he's absolutely nobody in the comic. I don't know why they dredged him out of all the potential Strange villains and characters, and there's so many of them. He's been in 3,000 plus comics.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. There could have been one fewer character in this movie if they had wanted to.
Yeah. And, here's the big spoiler. The actual real villain is Dormammu, who is pulling the strings behind everything.
Now, did you like how they portrayed Dormammu?
I loved how they portrayed Dormammu. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'd have known ahead of time, and I suspected they might, but I would have been nervous about how they would have portrayed him.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be some other bigger outside of our universe entity, whether it was Dormammu or one of the other ones. I wasn't sure. Dormammu is the most famous. He's the one that's usually in the cartoons and stuff. So, I thought the way they showed him, they described him and everything, great.
And can we talk about Eye of Agamemnon at all? Or?
Sure.
So I actually really loved. I thought it was a bit of a leap when Stephen Strange works out how to beat the villain. We won't talk about that, but I thought it was a bit of a leap there. But it was very clever. It was very and
though it's a change from the comic books, the nature of the Eye of Agamemnon, it fits very much into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's how the Strange is going to tie in with everything else.
Right. Actually, it was a very great preview of how we're going to let the material world and the magic world interact with each other.
Yeah.
Which is, again, something that a lot of people are nervous about.
And they showed in the big wide views of New York City, they were clear to show Avengers Tower prominently, and other little touches just to let you make sure you're watching. This is within the Marvel universe. This is going to this isn't some other movie with magic people over here while the Avengers are fighting over there. This is all the same world.
Though not as connected as I thought it might be. They didn't go for cheap connections.
No, they didn't. They didn't have like Mark Ruffalo just walking on and ordering
I thought
coffee
for example, I thought the Luke Cage connections were rather tacked in. They didn't go for that. Just one more note on the comic. angle, though, man, those landscapes were so inspired by Jack Kirby's original run.
Yes.
Just you can't even those crazy sketches that he did in the 60s. You can't imagine
all the scenes when they like basically Strange travels outside our universe into other ones. Very Kirby, very 60s comic.
But didn't feel dated. It just felt amazing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Anything else that comic book related you wanted to?
Did I mention the Ant-Man thing?
No.
So the other connection I imagined they were going to make was that they told us that they were going to make some connection with Ant-Man being subatomic and this world, and they didn't make that connection. I guess that's something we're going to save for future movies. They're basically saying that the realms that Ant-Man travels to are similar to these magic realms.
Yeah, and perhaps it'll be like a deleted scene on a DVD or something. You don't know.
Maybe, although they obviously took some visual clues. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it's sort of very much, if that's something they did film, I could very much see that. Oh, that doesn't really tie to anything in this movie. That's
anyway something to look forward to for them to connect those dots later. But yeah.
We started and then we got off it. The changes to the Ancient One. Yes, the character of the Ancient One is far more interesting in this portrayal than in any other I've seen, where the Ancient One is basically just literally like, I'm the old mastered kung fu, longest gray beard, and I just sort of sit here and say mystic sounding things and answer your questions, and then I'm gone.
Right.
Yeah,
and so the twists were great, but it was strange to me because Tilda Swinton, second to Benedict, is probably my second favorite actress, in this ensemble, and that could have been played by almost anyone.
Yeah, like you could totally have gotten. I kept thinking, what's his name? The guy that plays David Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yes, absolutely. That would have been the
Poe's dad from
obvious casting choice. And I'm kind of glad they didn't go obvious.
But you could have gotten like any old Asian guy and had him say and do the exact same things.
This could have been Jet Li or
could have been the
Jackie
guy
Chan,
that
or
he mistook
somebody
for the Ancient One at the start.
Sure.
And there's been a fair amount of controversy about cramming Tilda Swinton into a role that's would be from the comic book an Asian guy, and it's like, why'd you put a white? Though
I really liked that the Ancient One looked ageless.
Yeah,
that actually added to the mystique. It's like, you don't look like you're 1,000 years old.
No, it's and they very much get the feeling they wanted to go with someone with kind of like an ethereal and otherworldly.
Oh, she was a great choice.
Demeanor.
She did a good job, but I've just loved her so much in other things. This was a little muted.
Yeah, that she didn't make the best use of her acting chops. What were some of the things you really liked about this movie?
So for me, the reason to go beside the comic stuff is the visuals. Almost overwhelming to the eye, but didn't reach the point of overwhelming, and a lot of movement. The visuals were amazing, and that makes you need to go. Don't wait for video, and we'll get to that later. But and the other thing was, this is probably the best use of 3D that I've seen
in quite a while,
in a long time.
Yeah.
Normally, in fact, even in this movie, when they said, "Oh yeah, and that's in 3D," when we walked in, I was kind of disappointed. But the 3D, I don't know if it's necessary to have it go see it in 3D, but they used it well.
I actually read that prior because it's been out in the UK for a week already. Right. That people were like, if you get a choice, see this movie in 3D. And they're right. You totally need to see this movie in 3D. Sure. Yeah.
Another note, I thought the comedy was they had the right balance of comedy and action. It was weird, of course, that the cape seemed to get some of the best comedic scenes, but nevertheless, I thought, and they didn't go over the top with Strange's comedy, like one-liners and things. So.
I've noticed Marvel's been pretty good at that as a general rule, throwing in just the right amount of comedy into theirs without making it either ridiculous or slapstick.
Or non-existent, like a DC movie.
Or, exactly. There's the opposite. I 100% agree. The visuals are absolutely stunning. I'm actually quite curious, in a year from now or whatever, when I see this movie on a television screen in non-3D, if I will be like, that's, I remember this movie being a lot better. Or if
it's possible.
Yeah, or if it'll hold up. Because let's just segue into dislikes.
Sure.
story-wise, there's not a ton of meat on those bones.
It is thin.
Now, it's a comic book movie, and you don't necessarily need, sometimes the story's just there to kind of push things along to the next. And
True, but I thought like they rushed the origin part
yeah,
so that they could get to a story, and then they didn't have enough time for that either.
yeah, it does kind of. I sort of feel like this movie could have been a half hour longer. You know,
Could have
what I mean?
been.
Like we could have had more time with Strange at the start, because ultimately the origin story of Dr. Stephen Strange is a redemption story of his character.
Yeah.
And we get really none of that. You do. It's kind of hinted at there, but you really don't get the impact of it.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
That he's very much like Tony Stark, right? How Iron Man 1 was in a lot of ways. This is a story of how Tony Stark goes from being one of the most selfish, self-centered, bastards in the entire world to somebody who is very concerned, like willing to sacrifice himself for others. And it all happens in the cave, and
Sure. So thin
yeah.
story. What else was on your dislike list?
Not much, honestly. I mean, like we've mentioned, Caecilius is incredibly one-dimensional. You really get the feeling that there's a story there that you're just not getting.
Right. Frankly, Dormammu, who's on screen for half the time as Caecilius, was more interesting.
Yes.
So,
And the conversation between Strange and Dormammu was very good, and not literal, but very much in the spirit of how those two interact in the comics.
yeah.
But I mean, really, there isn't much to dislike about this movie.
So I thought there was one missed opportunity, and
Yeah.
that was so in the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was very boring, and felt very borrowed,
That's
even
true.
from other things. But they went out of their way to show us that Doctor Strange was this expert on eclectic music.
Yeah.
And I thought, let's buckle up. We're going to get another Guardians of the Galaxy style.
another
Like we're
Aussie
going
mix.
We're going to go
Yeah.
deep cuts of unusual music that they could really draw in, and they didn't go anywhere with that either.
No.
So I don't know why they spent so much time setting it up. But
Yeah.
so the soundtrack, I thought it was just a missed opportunity. They could have done more with it.
Anything else that...
About 30 minutes in, you realize, well, this whole thing is really an ad for Don't Text and Drive.
it's true.
It's just an extended. If you look at it that way,
It's true.
it
They
is an
even have at the
extended-
very end of the credits, please don't drive distracted.
So I think they're going to be making hay with this one for a while.
Because he's basically Astar the robot.
That's right.
I can put my arm back on. You can't.
Yeah, no one knows what that reference is.
Ah, people get me. All right, Paul.
Yes.
Time for the nuts and bolts. How would you rate this movie?
I rate this movie, see it opening weekend, even in 3D if you want.
I would rate this movie, see it opening weekend, definitely in 3D. Not
Okay.
if you want. Like, I think 3D adds quite a bit to the experience.
Okay.
So both of us say go see it in the theater.
Absolutely. This weekend.
All right. Well, that was our review of Doctor Strange. We hope you found it infotainment and edutational. And until next time, I'm David.
And I'm Paul.
And this is Fractal, signing off. We hope you've enjoyed our review of Doctor Strange. If you liked it, why don't you go ahead and click subscribe to our channel? Maybe you'll see some other videos you like. In fact, why not check out all of our Who Is videos on the characters from Doctor Strange, including Caecilius, Baron Mordo, other people, Doctor Strange. And hey, here's another video you might like. Why don't you click on that one?